Hello and welcome to the Dental Hygiene Basics podcast. My name is Dana. I'm your host and I am excited because this week we actually have a two-part series. So you're going to get part one this week and part two next week. And we're interviewing the amazing Rachael at Rachael Jane on Instagram. She recently graduated dental hygiene school. And if you have ever been told no, or if you've been told that you should not become a dental hygienist, this is your episode. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Okay, welcome, Rachael, to the Dental Hygiene Basics podcast. I'm beyond excited to have you on and to share your dental hygiene story because I know it's a good one. You've shared a little bit about it on social media, and that's what drew me in and asked you to be here today. So I'm really, really excited to share that with our audience. The first question I always start with is just tell me a little bit about yourself, your RDH origin story. How did you end up here?
So it's a pretty long story.
Go for it.
And honestly, just saying it in one big breath is probably the best way to say to make it cohesive, just because it's so complex. But I'm Rachael. I'm a fitness coach and now a registered dental hygienist, which is still so weird to say because I just graduated in May. So it's super cool to say that. But how I got here today into dentistry started really in like sixth grade. So back in sixth grade, I remember my mom saying just how awesome dental hygiene was. And she was doing prereqs for it. And she was saying how flexible it was and make good money. And like, it seems like an awesome job. And she just always talked great things about it. And I was like, maybe I want to do that. So I kind of kept that in the back of my head. And then eighth grade came around. I wanted braces so bad. I was so weird. My mom was like, I've never met a kid that like wants braces. And I was like, I can't wait. We got braces. And I loved going and getting the colors changed. Like I was like so excited every time. So I told my mom, I was like, I want to be an orthodontist. And she was like, that's like 10 years of schooling. And I was like, maybe I don't want to be an orthodontist because that's a lot of school. I was like, I just want to change the colors. I was like, how do I do that without being an orthodontist? I was like, maybe I'll start orthodontic assisting. Oh, it was high school. We could do a vocation where I went to high school. And they had dental assisting for the vocation. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do that. Did a 2-year vocation for dental assisting, junior, senior year. And I mean, I kind of liked it, but I really wanted to do orthodontics. Like it seemed super fun to me. But I ended up not passing the exam at the dental assisting at the end. I never went and retook it. I think because I just had another job. I was working at a grocery store. I got into fitness at the time. So I was doing like bodybuilding competitions and stuff. So just kind of on the back end. So I then went off to college and I was like, all right, I'm going to do dental hygiene, did prereqs and started my hygiene journey there. And so we had to take the PACS test to get into that program. And I ended up not passing the PACS tests twice. And you could only take 3 tries. And on the third try, if you fail it, like you are completely out. Like you just can't even apply anymore. And I was like on my second try and I was mortified. I was like, oh my gosh, I only have one more time. Like I didn't even want to take it because I was like, then it's over, like for sure. So I was in a really, really bad headspace. I was going through a lot of other things too, just like personally. So I was just like, I don't even know what to do. I've seen this life for myself since sixth grade and I feel like it was just taken from me and I was like, I don't know what to do. So I applied for orthodontic assisting jobs because they would train on the job without like any certification. So I got that job, orthodontic assisting, and did that for a while. And then I did that for about 4 years. Halfway through, I started my business. And while I was working as an assistant, I got accepted finally to the hygiene program because they did away with the PACS test after COVID. And they said, like, if you have this GPA, these classes done, you can apply without the PACS test. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is a dream come true. Like, I have to do it. So I did it, got accepted, and it was a 2-year wait list. And I was like, are you joking? I was like, you know what? I will continue doing orthodontic assisting, do my business. And when the time comes, like either I'll do it or I won't. I don't know. So I accepted it and then just kind of did my business, orthodontic assisting in between. And then the time came to start the program. And a week before the program started, my twin brother unexpectedly passed. So that was just, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. Should I do the program? Should I not? I decided to keep doing it. And the first day of hygiene school, I was planning his funeral. And I was just like, this doesn't make sense. At the time, I was like, how can the most tragic thing happen at this moment? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, this bad timing, you know? But I had to change my perspective. I was like, maybe this is what I needed. Like a purpose to get up every single day and like help me through like this grief. So I really had to like change my mindset with that. So I ended up going through hygiene school. Um, and yeah, here I am. And I won 2 devotion awards. So one was actually through Cloud Dentistry and one was through my schooling. So it was nice to be recognized for all of the craziness my life has thrown at me through this journey. But I almost applied to a different hygiene program after I didn't pass the PACSIS twice. And that's where a counselor told me that I should switch careers or think about switching careers because they didn't have the PACS test. That other school that I also applied to, they didn't have the PACS test. So I was like, maybe I can go there. Like, I'm going to do this one way or another. And she told me, she's like, well, maybe you should think about switching careers. And I was like, no, like, I know I want to do this in 6th grade. Like, I don't think you should be a counselor because that's not very motivating, but okay. So that is kind of the short version of the last like 10 years of my life.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, what a wild ride. But those are my most favorite stories because that's how I felt like my journey was. Like, I can't say it in a single breath. I decided I wanted to become a hygienist. I got accepted and I started. Like, that was not my path by any means. The first time I applied to hygiene school, I was 19 and then I didn't start till I was 25. So I totally get that life sometimes has you on a trajectory. And I heard this analogy. I thought it was really interesting, but it's essentially like, your life isn't climbing to the top of the mountain and that's the end. It's you get to the peak, you wave, you look around, you're so excited, and then you come back down again, right? It's like life is a series of ups and downs. And I think your story reflects that really beautifully in that one, you never gave up, right? You kept going, you kept pushing forward, trying to find a way to make it work, even despite hardship, loss, being told you should be looking for a different career opportunity. I mean, what made you keep going? That's my question. Because for me, it just felt intrinsic. Like, I have to keep moving forward. Is that kind of what propelled you forward too?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say my why. I mean, and that's what I tell people all the time, like within my fitness coaching, within dental hygiene, like you have to know your why you're doing something, especially when it's like a big journey like this, like schooling, or when you embark on a fitness journey, or when you start a new career, or it's like, why are you doing it? Because that's the thing that's going to drive you every single day. That's the thing that's going to wake you up. And that's the thing that's going to keep you going on the really hard days.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, a couple of things that you mentioned, you had the loss of your twin brother, which I'm so sorry that that happened and could not have happened at a worse time, like you said. And that's something I've kind of wanted to talk about on the podcast. And it's a very sensitive topic because grief is, I mean, we've all had grief. It weighs on our heart. But going through it in dental hygiene school is just an unparalleled experience, I think, with all the rigors and everything. How did you feel like it impacted you, and especially during those early days? Do you think your experience was significantly different than your classmates based off of what you were dealing with?
I would say so because for one, I was having so many existential crises on the daily of just like what is going on, just processing it. I didn't feel like I could connect with other people because I was going through so much heartbreak and such like a big transition of my life. And yeah, I mean, that was my priority, really, like grief and like getting through that. School was kind of my secondary. I mean, I guess, I was doing them both, but I just felt like I couldn't really connect, but I knew I had to do it. And I knew that, you know what, like people go through so many things in life and it's just one of these things that I have to go through. And I knew that I was kind of doing it for my brother, in a sense. I was also motivating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's proud of you. So to get to that point, something you've been working at for so long. And yeah, I just, it's hard to touch on those subjects, but I think that it's something that's never talked about. I mean, life goes on in terms of like externally to dental hygiene school. A lot of people, their dental hygiene, like that's the main focus, right? But for a lot of people in dental hygiene school, things are still going on externally that are adding extra pressure to what you're already going through. And, a lot of times on the podcast, I'll talk to parents and that's a unique external pressure, or I'll talk to people who have to work through dental hygiene school. That's a unique external pressure. But for you, you were managing grief, which is something that not everybody has to deal with going through dental hygiene school. And so I'm just very proud of you for, toughing it out, getting through it. Again, focusing on your why, because that is what's going to keep you up and motivated day in, day out and getting through that process. And I'm really proud of you for doing all of that. So good job. I mean, on the other end of it, did you eventually feel like you started making connections with classmates, or do you feel like because of that difficulty early on, you were kind of flew solo most of the time?
No, I definitely did. And they definitely helped me throughout school. That's for sure. Being able to be with them and, just because I didn't feel like I could connect with them in every aspect, obviously we could all kind of trauma bond. Dental hygiene school, we all knew we were going through the same thing. So we would connect on different, like just school things. But yeah, I mean, we really did help each other through school, which helped me through my grief because it's helping me through school, just making the load a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Uh, so having classmates that are, just good people, make you laugh, like that really is priceless.
It is, yeah, and to have that shared support, like you said, it takes a load off no matter what you're going through in dental hygiene school to have some friends and connections to go through it with. So I totally agree there. Okay, I think I want to focus on these exams that kept haunting you. You had the dental assisting exam, you had the PACS exam, which I hadn't heard about. So tell me really quick, what school did you end up going to?
Stark State College. It's community college,
Okay, where is that located?
North Canton, Ohio.
Okay, gotcha. And so there's this test you have to take. You're struggling with it, which is so frustrating, but it seems like divine intervention that you ended up not having to worry about that test in the first place, which is really nice. But in that meantime, I'm thinking you went on and did a lot of things, 4 years or however many years of orthodontic assisting in that time frame. I mean, you were building up a lot of skills despite, having initial struggles with that test. Do you feel like you continue to have struggles with testing, or was it just related to those like specific situations?
So, I mean, throughout school, middle school, elementary school, I've always been like a C student. Like I always had to like really try, like nothing really came easy for me, I feel. But actually, before I got accepted into the program, I started working with a therapist and I was diagnosed with ADHD. And I was like, okay, this makes sense. Like not being able to focus. And I hate saying that I felt different because I mean, you don't know how other people are living their life and their reality, but like I knew I struggled a little bit more, I felt at least than others in school. So I was kind of worried going into hygiene school of like, I don't know, like I'm not the best test taker, obviously. So I don't know how this is going to play out. Oh my gosh, what if I fail? But you have to just believe in yourself and that you'll figure it out. And if you want it bad enough, then you'll get it done. So I was like, you know what? I got accepted. I'm going to try. It's going to take work, but
Yeah. And that's kind of why I wanted to ask, when you see a pattern or something like that repeated, I'm glad that you've sought out the help and were thinking about that before you even started, because I work with students who haven't passed the national board exam and I'm constantly kind of working with them on that. And one thing we see a lot is just a later diagnosis of something like ADHD or dyslexia or just whatever the issue is, right? And going into dental hygiene school not knowing that, you may wonder, like you said, you felt different. Like, why did I struggle with these things leading up to this point? And it's not that you're different, it's just your brain works differently, right? And so with that being said, having an understanding of that, how your brain works, and having that support through therapy or medication, whatever it may be, can really help to just make that process. Not that dental hygiene school is easy, right? But make it a little bit easier when you know that your brain is functioning in a different way that needs a little bit extra support. So I think that's a good thing to talk about, because a lot of times people just find out too late, right? After they've struggled to pass the board exam 4 or 5 times. And then I'm like, well, have you seen a therapist? Something's got to be going on here outside of just this specifics. It's not just one giant knowledge gap, right? There's something else that's feeding into it. And thank you for talking about it, bringing it up, because I think it's something that students should be considering before they get there. Like, look at my past history and see how it's gone. And obviously, you got into dental hygiene school, like it's still possible, right? You made it through, you passed the national board, you graduated. But again, you had that knowledge and that support behind you to do it, right?
Yes. And I was unmedicated. So I knew I didn't want to take medication. And with ADHD, I know that in women, usually they get diagnosed later on because these symptoms when you're younger is just different. Usually for boys, it's like crazy, hyper, whereas girls are more just kind of internal and really processing everything inside. But yeah, I was worried with the ADHD, like, am I able to take tests and stuff? But I made it and I was really worried about the national board because I didn't pass my assisting national board. And I was like, well, if I didn't pass that, I'm not going to pass my boards. But I was like, okay, I can't think that. So it definitely is possible. And I tried to look into like people with ADHD and dental hygiene, and like there wasn't too much out there. So if anyone has ADHD and they're worried about that, like it is for sure possible. You have to just set your mind to it, and like figure out what works for you, but don't let that be your crutch to not moving forward with hygiene school.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, we've talked about all the different things people can struggle with. And one of those things that we can struggle with is ADHD or OCD or depression, anxiety. I mean, there's things abound that will come out, especially in dental hygiene school, that sometimes you're like, whoa, I was not ready for this emotion or whatever this was. But yeah, I mean, I guess, do you feel like you had any specific tips or techniques that worked for you being a student with ADHD? Anything unusual or different that you did?
I would say this is very type A of me, but I don't think I'm very type A. I would say I'm more type B,
Mhm.
but I had to be type A like with my organization and my ADHD. So like I made so many to-do lists. Like I would plan out months ahead. Like I would write down everything. I would, I'm sure a lot of people do this anyways, like get your syllabus, write out what's due. Like I would do all that, but I would write a weekly to-do list every day. I would write a to-do list, and I would write like an morning to-do list and then an evening to-do list. So like after school from like 8 to 5, I would come home and make another to-do list. And just like I had to be on top of myself. Like
Mhm.
if I was not writing down constantly what I needed to do and like time framing it, putting it in my calendar, like I had to just like be on top of myself and be realistic with myself with how much time things actually take, because like time blindness is a big thing, especially with like ADHD, like thinking something's only going to take like 10 minutes, but it really takes an hour. I'm like, okay, like how long is this project actually going to take? And like really being intentional with time and like sitting down, putting my phone away, focusing instead of, focusing on a million things.
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, really great points to bring up. And you say, I think a lot of people do this, but I think there's going to be some people that hear that and they're like, I don't do that. And, it's something that I did in dental hygiene school. Other people I know who have done it, who have gone on to be successful, is like you said, the planning aspect, especially when you're in school, you're juggling projects, papers, tests, quizzes, clinic, patients in the clinic, your assignments, the competencies, all of those things. I agree. I mean, I think you have to have it all written down and you have to be constantly looking at that calendar and that to-do list, like you said, knowing where you're supposed to be, when, what's due. It's almost like staying ahead of the game a little bit, right? You're like, okay, I'm not living life like an hour in advance. I'm living life 7 days to 2 weeks in advance. At least that's
Yeah.
how I felt. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like booked and busy. I told my friends and family, I was like, if you want to see me, hang out with me, you got to be in my clinic chair. Like, so
I love that. Yeah. You're like, yeah, we can absolutely hang out. I'm free in the clinic at this time. That's hilarious. I love it. Yeah. And, one thing you mentioned, you said you're not really type A, you're more type B. I'm definitely type A, but I also have OCD. And, sometimes my therapist is like, I think you've got a mix of the ADHD too. I'm like, no more, no more diagnosis. Like, I'm
yeah.
good there. But, for me, the scheduling almost became obsessive like that because it was the only way I felt in control. So, just another aspect of things that show up that sometimes you don't realize will show up, in dental hygiene school. Like I said, mental things can get a little weird while you're there. But
Mhm.
if you know about those things, you can kind of reflect and be aware. And I don't know, I think now, and you could tell me how you feel, but I think like my OCD is a part of my superpower, like who I am as a human. I think it makes me better in some ways while it's a struggle. But what do you think? Do you think ADHD can help you in some ways?
Yeah, for sure. I'm interested in so many things. Obviously, like I do dental hygiene, but also fitness. So I love that I have so many options, that I'm open to so many options rather than like one thing for the rest of my life, 40 years. Like I love just like having that curiosity for life. And I think a lot of it is rooted in my ADHD, just
Yes.
being able to do multiple things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm the same way. I have so many interests. And one of my favorite reasons for bringing people on the podcast is to kind of show those shared interests. Like you mentioned, your life is not all dental hygiene. Like you love dental hygiene. You wanted to do this since you were in the sixth grade and you did it. But that doesn't mean you have to stop doing or stop enjoying the other aspects. I mean, like you said, you built an entire fitness business. So it's like, obviously, that's a passion of yours as well. I always think it could be interesting to see like where do those merge in the future? If they do, maybe they don't, but there's a possibility there. I'm like, hygienists need specific fitness training, right? With our musculoskeletal and things like that. I'm just like, to me, those different passions, it's fun to see how they can intersect. So I'll be definitely curious to like follow your journey and see what you end up doing in the future if it eventually comes together or if it stays separate. Do you have any thoughts on anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I really do like keeping it more separate. I like doing two completely different things, instead of like
Yes.
putting it together. But at the end of the day, like both of them are for your health, like obviously prevention in both aspects. Like you want to work out to stay healthy for the rest of your life, build muscle. And we want to make sure we're keeping our mouth clean and healthy, so we don't have any heart issues or periodontal disease or abscesses or anything like that. So, I mean, at the core of like both careers, like I truly just want to help and give people more confidence and just prevention on both sides. Like that's truly what I love, whether it be fitness or dental hygiene. It's the same in that aspect, but I don't really want to merge them together and make it just like one thing.
I totally get it. I like to do something different every day. Like one day I might be doing this, the next day I'm doing this. And even though mine are all rooted in dental hygiene, but that's because dental hygiene is my like insane passion. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've been trying to find passions outside of dental hygiene. It's going okay so far, but I'm like, I
Yeah.
wish I could get on the fitness train. That's the one I've been trying to hop on for a while. And yeah, I'm doing better than I used to. Yeah, it's I'm all about dental hygiene and to the point where sometimes I'm like, is this unhealthy? Like, why am I so obsessed with it?
Yeah.
But
And that's okay. We all have our one main thing.
yes, absolutely. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about, when you were applying to dental hygiene school, you had some struggles getting in and you went to this other school, and they told you maybe think about a different career choice. What do you think was holding you back in your application process? Was it just that testing or was it GPA? What do you think might have been making it more difficult to get accepted?
Into the school, into my initial school, like the PAX test school.
Yeah, or in general, like in dental hygiene school, because you said you went to the other one and they had
Oh,
that conversation with you.
okay, yes. Then I would say it would be just the PAX test because that was the only thing holding me back. Like I had all my prereqs done. Yeah, I was ready from there on out. I just had to take the PAX test and then I could get in and everything was smooth sailing. But I didn't pass that PAX test twice, which the PAX test, it's like the TEAS test for nursing, if you've ever heard of that. And it's just like a comprehensive like science, health, math type of thing. And yeah, that was my biggest setback. So that's why I reached out to a different college because they didn't have the PAX test. So I was like, well, maybe I can get in there. And she was like, well, maybe you should switch careers. And I was like, all right, I don't think this is the school for me. So I'm just going to keep doing orthodontic assisting. I don't know. I'll figure it out later. And the universe kind of worked in my favor and said, it's time now. Accepted me then without the PAX test.
Yeah, I guess. Okay. So at that other school, not trying to like harp on this, I'm just trying to understand that counselor. What do you think was her motivation behind telling you that? Because I know I've been told that by counselors. So, and I know some of the circumstances behind why, but
Yeah.
I'm like, when you hear that as a student, you're either going to go one of two directions. You're going to give up or you're going to push forward. So I kind of want to know like the background behind why you might be thinking what she was thinking and why you were like, whatever, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. Well, initially, I was just like, okay, rude. Second, I was just like, you don't know me. Like, it sounded like she was just like, well, you sound kind of too stupid to like go to this schooling. Maybe you should just change careers. Like, that's how I took it. Like, you're too stupid for dental hygiene. And I knew that wasn't the case because I was just like, okay, whatever. Like, she doesn't know me. And maybe if you were to ask a few more questions about me and actually ask, like, why do you want to do it before you say what I should do with my life, then you would have a better understanding and maybe better advice. But in the moment, it felt like she just felt like I was too stupid to do it. And I didn't really take it personal again because I don't know her personally. But yeah, that's kind of how I felt in the moment.
Yeah, I know, which is the worst feeling to be like, I've been on this path going for something for so long, and then someone's telling me you shouldn't do that. You're just like, what? I mean, I get it though. I've been told no so many times that I'm just like, watch me. I'm gonna go out and figure it out.
It just lit my fire even more. I was like, all right, well, watch me get into another school. Like, I'm going to do it one way or another. And if it's not your school, that's fine.
And that's such a good experience sometimes to go through for a couple of different reasons. One is that now you see what you're made of, right? Either you keep going or you stop. And if you keep going, it's like that grit and resiliency. I don't know, it builds that skill inside of you, something that keeps getting stronger and stronger as you go on because you're just like, nothing's going to stop me. Whereas if
Mhm.
you go the other way and you give up, it's like, well, now where is life going? Not that giving up. Sometimes I don't always think of giving up as like giving up. It's like maybe
Yeah.
you're steered towards the right path because people could say I gave up on becoming a dentist, but my correct path altered me towards dental hygiene. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. But
Yes.
the other thing too is just when you're, going through something like that, it's like, how do you pick up and move on? And it's not always ideal to be told that, but you have to make a choice when those moments come up, right?
Right. And I agree with that. Sometimes that is the best thing you can do is give up. And it can be a strength, even like quitting a job. People think that like, oh my gosh, if I quit, then that's a weakness. And it's like, no, sometimes it's a strength. You move on to the next thing. So it's just a matter of how you look at it and your perspective and your life's journey. Yeah, I agree with
Yeah, I think as long as you're learning, improving, just trying to be better, whatever that looks like. And if you go into a different direction, I mean, because you went into orthodontic assisting, you built this fitness business. I mean, you're doing a lot of really incredible things, all the while people are telling you no, right? And it eventually you ended up on that path that you had set out on, but it doesn't mean that taking another road is leading you somewhere you shouldn't be either. Yeah, we call us the second time girlies, the people who have applied, didn't get in, or got told no, or failed their board exams. It's like
you.
at some point, you're going to have a bump in the road to becoming a dental hygienist. And it's really where you go from there. Oh, that's all that matters, right? It's just
Absolutely.
keep it going. So, okay. A couple of questions I want to dive into. So you get into dental hygiene school, everything's going, and in that time period, what did you feel like was one of the most difficult aspects of school itself? What did you maybe didn't expect with dental hygiene school?
Just how much is gonna take over your life and kinda how I was talking about being organized, just how on top of things you have to be or else, you just don't wanna fall behind. You wanna be able to keep up because if you're behind, it's just gonna stress you out even more trying to play catch up. That is the worst feeling. I remember my first semester, I actually had to take an incomplete because I didn't get as many patients that we had to get done for that semester, and I remember thinking, this is never going to happen again. The amount of stress that I'm feeling, the amount of just like, this is not a good feeling like I have to catch up. And so I never got an incomplete again. It was a good experience. But yeah, just being organized, you're planning, keeping up with projects, homework, community work. Like there's just so much that you have to stay on the ball.
Yeah, for sure. It is. That's why I always say it's like you're juggling and people just keep throwing another one at you and keep throwing another one at you. And you're just like, what? At some point, something's going to drop. My friend, when he got into college, he went to this like his orientation and they had, like a triangle drawn on the board. And it's like you have school, you have work, and you have a social life. And he's like, I think he said pick two. Like you can't have them all. But in dental hygiene school, it almost feels like pick one. It's really hard to have them all, or at least have them all going well, right? You're good at two, you're going to drop off on the other one. So were you working your fitness business throughout school, or did you kind of take time off from that?
Yeah, I was still doing my business. I wasn't like full time in it. I was more part time. But the thing is, like, I could take on as many clients as I want. It was actually a blessing that I got into fitness coaching because working for myself was just great, especially with all the grief that I was going through. Just like having to go to a job on top of school, like it was nice to be at home and like be able to control my hours. So I was working and still working fitness coaching.
Yeah, that's great. So what kind of fitness coaching do you do?
So it's online. So before hygiene school, I was doing in-person training and online, but then school started and I just decided to do all online. So I have an app and I write out the programs or meal plans. We do weekly check-ins. So it's all online. I did a few in-person trainings like throughout breaks and stuff, but mainly it's just online, just like bodybuilding workouts.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. I'm always like interested to hear about others' entrepreneur journeys. And I think hygienists, actually who we are and what we're interested in, I think it makes us really good entrepreneurs, the way that our minds work and that we see things and the routine, the sequence, the health aspects. I think that there's a lot of just unique ways for us to, I don't know, use our skills in a variety of ways. So I think that's awesome. Well, Rachel, your story is seriously incredible and we have so much to talk about. I've already decided we're going to split this into a part 1 and part 2. So everyone, if you're listening, make sure come back next week and listen to Rachel's story. I know it's going to be maybe even better than what we've already covered today. All right, everyone, see you next week for part 2.